year it starts.
Wait, what?
Every year.
John, come sit with me.
Quite predictably, every year January 1 comes, right? And so what kicks off is a process, and this is just the way I draw it. January through to April, June, summer months, hit October, Thanksgiving, all the stuff, and there we are again in January.
It's crazy you go counterclockwise. That's wild.
People disagree with me all the time.
I'm like, dude, this is breaking my brain.
This is what makes sense in my brain. So
Okay, keep going.
I don't know why. So January, this is the time of year actually from a soul care perspective that's really important for us, because naturally the whole world is thinking, who do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
Who am I now? What's important in the future? Where are the gaps between who I am right now and my bad habits I'm letting go of? So this is actually the best time. Traditionally, there are a couple others, but this is traditionally the best time for them to be thinking big picture soul care investment. Okay, so that's important for us to know. And churches, they have had a huge evangelism push through Christmas Eve services and everything else like that. So they're really sensitive to teaching to topics that are easy for visitors, for new time people coming in. So that impacts that. But usually by the time they hit February, they're doing a finance series, predictably, because people are getting their credit card bills from all the Christmas spend. So they're always doing a financial thing there. Then somewhere around here, spring break starts to happen, Lent starts to happen, and somewhere in here Easter happens. So you don't usually see many conferences that are happening during that season, but by the time there's a window of time for conferences and strategic initiatives to launch at a church between April and say May. Once you hit the first week of May, you've got Mother's Day, you've got graduations, you've got end of year crisis. Nobody can pay attention to anything. That's going on here. And then by the time the summer hits, you've got Father's Day, and then pretty much everyone goes dark. Everyone's on vacation, nobody knows where anybody is, no major decisions generally are being made. However, some really strategic people realize that this is a good time for leadership development initiatives. This is a good time when you can talk to your leaders. Small groups are often on hiatus, so you can build into your leaders then, and that's why you see the 2-day global leadership summit happens in this time frame and has held for 20-some years. Right around end of August, early September is when the ministry launched. So the other thing that's happening here is churches are recruiting volunteers. Who wants to serve in children's ministry? Who's going to serve on the worship team? This is predictable every single year. They're doing all that kind of recruiting. There's a big ministry launch, right? They hire all the balloon things and do a thing in the parking lot. It's the start of the new year. Kids are moving up a year in all the kids programs, so there's a lot of happening there. And then things kind of hit a bit of a predictable pattern between then and really almost till Thanksgiving. This is the big window when church conferences happen again. So Exponential Conference happens here. There's several other ones that happen here, denominational things. I'm also realizing there's a layer of when boards meet, which is usually here and here. A little bit in February, a little bit in August. So here is where you have the most leeway to introduce new ideas. This is sometimes when budget is made, because let's think about budgeting. Church financial, some of them go off of the calendar year, and some of them have like a June 1 or a July 1 fiscal year, and so you have to understand what their fiscal year is to understand what their budgeting cycle is. Then you get to Thanksgiving. At the end of this window, you have maybe 2 or 3 more weeks in early December that a church-wide initiative could get launched when people would take the reveal assessment, when you can make certain asks of the church. But right here, you're gearing up for the time between, say, this is not very clear, between mid-December and then Christmas. That is what we call death by church. Right here, that is when the team that is trying to help everybody else believe that they could have a wonderful life if they follow Jesus is, for the most part, imploding. People get bad attitudes, everybody gets mad at each other, the pressure is high, because not only the church pressure, but it's like all the cultural pressure of, did you get your kids what they wanted for Christmas, and do you have enough money, and it is a high pressure. Is it the romantic version? If you're single, it can be hard. Like, there is just a lot of what gets hard in that time of year. And so when you layer into that everything that is the responsibility of pastoral teams. So really from really after the first week in December on, you will basically not have any meaningful interaction with church leaders unless it's a big enough church that the small groups pastors, who are not the ones running all this stuff, they actually have more time and capacity to think about strategic things that they will launch in the beginning of the next year. So this is the piece I call death by church. This is the window between Christmas and New Year's, and an increasing number of churches take off between Christmas and New Year's, where people are kind of taking a deep breath and going, how many more years do I have in me of doing this thing? So there's a lot of soul searching, there's a lot of deep reflection, which again is part of the whole January thing all the time anyway. So that's what I think of as a very predictable pattern of how congregants are experiencing their life, what priorities do they have, how church leaders are thinking about different things, and when are the particular gathering windows and purchase process decisions, when are they likely to make a decision? None more important than this one.
Can you send me that video?